saying and the said.
saying,
Distinction that he makes
said.
between the saying and the said. So I said the saying is incomplete. Saying has possibilities. Saying is open to a horizon. Saying is open to persons. Saying gives possibilities, whereas the said is limited. And therefore, at the end, I was trying to tell you, strictly speaking, saying cannot be defined. Strictly speaking, saying cannot be defined. Saying is, strictly speaking, it is a sort of a nothing, means no thing. Nothing means here, meaning of the word nothing is here, meaning to say it is no thing. It cannot be attached to a thing. Nothing means that. Strictly speaking, saying is nothing. Statement by Emmanuel Levinas. And here the word nothing is not the ordinary word that nothing that we use. It is no thing. What does it mean? No thing means
எனக்கு
it
கிளாஸ் ஆகிட்டு
cannot
ஒரு
be
நிமிஷம் இருங்க கால்
attached
பண்றேன்
to anything in particular. It cannot be
நானே
attached to
கால் பண்றேன்
anything in particular. It is nothing. So that way, Levinas says that so the saying enables us to reach an ethical relationship with the other. Saying helps us to have an ethical relationship with the other. It brings us back to the other. It brings us back to the other. And here he recalls to mind what Heidegger has said. In the philosophy of Heidegger, we saw that the basic problem with Heidegger was the question of being. And we also saw that the question of being was forgotten. That's what Heidegger said.
சரி 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 ஓகே ஓகே
That basically Heidegger said being, the question of being is forgotten. Now here Levinas says it is not the question of being is forgotten. On the other hand, the question of the other is forgotten.
நானே கால் பண்றேன் கொஞ்ச நேரம் விட்டு
It is not the question of being is forgotten, but it is the question of the other is forgotten. So, relationship with the other, our reciprocity with the other, that is forgotten, not the question of being. Am I clear? You see, everything is, yes, moving towards the relationship with the other. It's an ethical relationship that he's talking about. The next point Levinas is talking about is the question of the subject. The question of the subject, or the status of the subject. The question of the subject or the status of the subject. What is the question of the subject? The status of the subject. 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 Now here we must go back a little to the question of the subject with other philosophers, and we see how the question of subject with Emmanuel Levinas is different. The question of the subject in other philosophers, for example, we have studied the philosophy of René Descartes. We have studied the question of the subject with René Descartes. For René Descartes, the subject is a thinking subject. It's a thinking subject. René Descartes speaks about the ego, the cogito, the thinking subject. Subject is always a thinking subject. You see? So the emphasis is given to a subject who is all the time thinking. In René Descartes, there is no space is given for feeling subject. It is a thinking subject. We saw with Kant, Immanuel Kant, we have seen the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, where again he speaks about a subject is called transcendental ego. the transcendental ego in Immanuel Levinas, no, Immanuel Kant, transcendental ego. Now, what is this transcendental ego in Kant? It is a subject which is not applied in practical life. It is a subject which is once again a thinking subject, transcendental. It is not, it is almost beyond the world. Kant. We have not seen, but we are supposed to see something in Hegel. Hegel also speaks about a subject, but the subject of Hegel is again a thinking subject. It is the idea. It is the reason. It is the idea or the reason, or it is the logos, what he calls. We have then the aspect of subject by Husserl, Edmund Husserl. I was talking about the phenomenology of Edmund Husserl, and he is also talking about the subject, and his subject is once again ideal subject. We have seen the criticism leveled against Edmund Husserl towards the end. He is saying that he is becoming very ideal, the ideal subject. He is in the ideal world. He is in the ideal world. So all these philosophers have given emphasis, and with the Heidegger, it is the question of the subject. Once again, Heidegger doesn't speak about day-to-day life. He's talking about ontology all the time, and a subject who is trying to know ontology. Once again, very theoretical. Once again, very, very theoretical. Therefore, Levinas talks about a subject. Levinas talks about a subject which is real, practical. Levinas talks about a subject. Levinas is talking about a subject who is very much involved in the world. Involved in the world. Therefore, Levinas says life is enjoyment, nourishment. It is the joy of living. It is the joy of living. Life should be joy of living. Life is full of surprises, sometimes happy surprises, sometimes sad and shocking surprises. Life is full of surprises. And whenever there is surprise, we are alive. If there is no surprise, nothing is, we are not alive. Surprises makes us alive. Today there is something. It brings us, back to ourselves. Life is full of surprises. He is also talking about a subject called embodied subject. Embodied subject means subject with body. He's talking about a subject called embodied subject, subject with a body, subject which is having flesh and blood, a subject who has hunger, thirst, sorrow, happiness, joy, all that, Human beings, we are a subject in this world. And in this world, we have all our needs, our desires, our anxieties, our joys, our sufferings, our worries, our tensions. So that is the subject he's talking about. It's not an ideal subject. So when we relate with the other, we are not relating with another ideal subject. We're not relating in an ideal world. When we are relating with the other, we relate with the other with a subject who is like me, with his flesh and blood, with his needs, desires, anxieties, worries, tensions, joys, sufferings. So our relationship, ethical relationship takes into account all these aspects of relationship. So the subject of Immanuel Levinas is a real subject. Am I making things clear?
Yes, Father.
Yes,
Am I
Father.
clear? Robin, are you there?
Yes, Father. Yeah.
Are you able to understand?
Yes, Father.
Need to understand. And therefore, we are talking about a subject who is real, who is in the world. We are in the subject who is in the world. Of course, Heidegger did speak about being in the world. Heidegger was not completely cut off from the world, but still he was a little more theoretical. Whereas Immanuel Levinas is more practical. More practical. So we are talking about subject who is real, genuine, a subject in the world, flesh and blood, anxieties, worries, tensions, joys, happenings, sorrows. That's our daily life. That's our daily life. So we need to look at the other. We need to look at the other as a subject who is open to me and I am open to the other. And in this, my relationship with the other, in this, my relationship with the other, in my relationship with the other, in my relationship with the other, it is a relationship where he uses a biblical expression where I say, here am I, here am I. It's a relationship where I say, here I am, or here am I. So when every time I meet somebody or the other, every time I meet the other, it's like a call for me. It's like an invitation. Every time I meet with the other, it's like a call. It's like an invitation. And what should be my response to this? Every time I see the face of the other, every time I see the face of the other,
Here I am.
here I am. Meaning to say what? What is the significance? Here I am means what? What is the significance? What is the significance of saying here I am
I have
or
been
here
invited. I
I
I
have
have
am
been
been
open.
invited?
invited.
I've been invited. Any
I'm
other,
open to you.
I am open. Any other, so here I am means what? Do I have some responsibility?
I am at your disposal.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, do I have some responsibility towards the other?
yes,
Yes
Yes,
or no?
yes,
I
Yes,
yes,
have
Father.
Father.
a
Yes.
responsibility towards the other. I have an obligation towards the other. Here am I. I am there. I am there for you. I am with you. And, I have a responsibility towards you. I have an obligation towards you. So that is the meaning of Yara. So it's not an encounter like daily. It's an encounter with responsibility. So that sort of subjectivity I have. It's a responsible subjectivity. Therefore, it's a relationship of obligation, a relationship of love, a relationship of responsibility. That is the meaning of the word. Here am I. Here I am there for you. I am with you. Are you with me now?
yes.
Yes, Father.
Lot of noise
Sure,
is
Father.
there. Noise is there.
Okay, okay. That's very
Noise,
important.
noise is there.
Somebody is playing something, I don't know,
Making
some noise because some people are working with, I don't know, some ladies have come somewhere. And Rakesh, Rakesh is not there now.
Rakesh is not there.
This fellow, I don't know who is this fellow. Who is this one? I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, uh, Rajesh, eh?
Who is that? No, 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 Father. Nobody is there.
Okay. Nobody is there. Okay, okay. Thank God. So, you see, we are trying to understand these are some of the basic tenets of the philosophy of Immanuel Levinas. I have given you only in brief some of the significant aspects of the philosophy of Immanuel Levinas. So, Immanuel Levinas is leading us, Immanuel Levinas is leading us towards the other, leading us towards the other. And some of the interpreters of Immanuel Levinas, some of the people who have studied Levinas and who are trying to interpret Levinas, they see that in Levinasian philosophy, in the philosophy of Immanuel Levinas, they see in the philosophy of Immanuel Levinas, they see in the philosophy of Immanuel Levinas, the there is a trace of the divine. There is a trace of the divine. When he says we have to relate to the other, consider the other as surplus element than me, the infinity of the other. Many people consider that Emmanuel Levinas has not expressed openly, but in the philosophy of Levinas, there is a trace of the divine in the other. In other words, every other person, there is a little manifestation of the divine. Little manifestation of the divine. So if every other there is a manifestation of the divine, then naturally we'll have, God will be present for us in every other person, which is very close to the Bible. St. John's letter, if you don't love the person whom you see, and you say, I love God whom you don't see, what are you according to St. John? What are
Bluffer.
you?
You are a bluffer.
420.
For
Coward.
bluffer.
You are a, you are
Bluffer.
a,
Bluffer.
you
Word.
are a, you are a
Liar.
what?
Liar. Liar.
420. Liar.
You are a
Liar.
liar. You are a
Liar.
liar. You say that I love my neighbor and I love God and I hate my neighbor. Because he says if you don't see God in your neighbor, then you are a liar. Something similar can be seen, and some of the, some of the experts on Levinas say that this is what Levinas is trying to bring us. Although Levinas himself has not said it openly. For Levinas, what does holiness consist? Holiness consists in the real ethics. In the real ethics. I quote one of the statements Levinas said, they often speak of ethics to describe what I do. But what interests me when all is said and done is not ethics, not only ethics, it's the holy, the holiness of the holy. It is found in your notes, page number 24. Found in the notes which I have sent in page number 24. The statement by Levinas, beautiful statement. I read it again, that statement. They often speak of ethics to describe what I do. But what interests me when all is said and done is not ethics, not only ethics, it's the holy, the holiness of the holy. Beautiful statement. You can read for yourself. It is there in the notes. So Levinas is calling us to be responsible people, very responsible people. Levinas is calling for a real justice. What is a real justice means? It is not giving some money to the other. Levinas is calling for genuine justice. Genuine justice is not, giving some money for the other. Listen, genuine justice is not giving money to the other. It's not just giving something to the other. It's not being little charity to the other. You are giving 10 rupees to the other. That is not real. Real justice is recognizing the other. And in the other, you are recognizing something beyond. Real justice is in recognition of the other. And in the other, you are realizing something beyond. Something of the holy. This is the general background of the philosophy of ethics of Levinas. It's a general background of the philosophy of the other, or the ethical philosophy of Levinas. There are people who have also criticized a few elements of the philosophy of Levinas. A few critical remarks have been made. There are so many positive points. You can yourself note down several positive points. Make it a list of positive points of the philosophy of phenomenology, or this one of Levinas. There are some people who say that Levinas is more theoretical. Levinas has been very theoretical. He is speaking nicely, but very theoretical. There are also others who say that Levinas has not done anything himself to liberate humankind. He has spoken, yes. He has spoken, yes, but he has not done anything concretely. Because you must keep in mind there are two types of people in ethics or in politics. There are two types of people, both in ethics, in politics. And what are the two types of people? One people type of people who write, who sit in the libraries, who write books, who write articles, who provoke people, who inspire people. This is one type of people. We can see them in ethics. We can see them in politics as well. They write a lot about politics. They make analysis of politics. They write a lot of about ethics. They write analysis of ethics. But they are more classroom centered thinkers. There are others who work in the field. There are others who work in the field, like politicians who participate in elections, who go with the people, who get elected or who get defeated, who make policies in the parliament or in the common houses. These are people who are involved in the real world. It's like somebody who is writing good theories about how to play football, but there are people who go and play. There are two types. We cannot say that both are not required. Both are required. Both are needed. Both in politics as well as in ethics, both are required. There are people who make theories, who proposals, who write books, who give ideas, who inspire. There are people who go to the field and go to the field and work. So Levinas belongs to the first group of people. Levinas belongs to the first group of people. Levinas belongs to that group of people. People who inspire, people who write books, people who are inspiring write books. But he's not a man who is in the field. Of course, he has done wonderful work. Not that everybody can be in the field. So Levinas belongs. So some have made a critical remark saying that Levinas has not done much in the field work, but he has done a lot in the classroom work, theoretical work he has done. However, the influence of Levinas is great. And Levinas has taken the ethics as his phenomenological object. As I said, phenomenology started by Edmund Husserl. Different people have taken different phenomena. For Heidegger, it was the phenomena called the being. He took the phenomena of being. For Levinas, it was the phenomena of the other or the phenomena called the ethics. So he analyzes and uses Husserlian method to analyze the concept of ethics. And he goes deeper into the concept of ethics, not just on the peripheral line. For him, ethics has to be grounded well, rooted well. You have to see the value of the other, not just from the outside point, but go to the roots of the person. These are some of this one, That's why Levinas is considered also as a very significant, important, powerful philosopher of our times. Am I clear to you?
Yes, Father.
So you'll have to do some homework and write down this one in your own summary. And we don't have much time. Time is limited now. So we come back tomorrow. We come back tomorrow. Come
Yes,
back
Father.
tomorrow.
Sure,
Tomorrow.
Father.
Tomorrow. And those who are